Yeah, someone no, some people are saying I hear myself talking back to me. Yeah, but I hear myself talking back to
Hopefully this does not echo. Hopefully it does not echo.
oh, I hear myself talking.
One thing I did was join Discord because when I tried to restream, it just kind of like it kind of represented what you already had. So
Primey, calm down.
you can still hear me now. Can they hear me though? Okay. Jack
Yeah, but
said
it's
he
just
could
an
hear me.
echo.
That's strange.
Can you hear me now? Can you all hear me?
Yeah, but it's so distorted.
Okay. Maybe if I mute this. Now, can you hear me?
A little better,
That's strange.
but I still hear an echo. If any of you guys are talking, I can't hear you.
They're saying they can hear us.
Yeah, but I hear myself talking back to me.
What was the issue? Restream. What was the mic issue you were having, Vigilante?
It wasn't letting me use it.
Technical issues. It happens. Prime just said he can't hear you. If If you can hear Sandstorm, type 1 in the chat.
I have no idea.
Let me try to see if I can create another.
Mic check. Okay. Can you hear me? Let me send.
Can you hear me? Yes, now we can.
Okay, so Prime can hear me. So can everybody hear Vigilante?
Yeah, I can hear myself talking back to me also.
Okay. And can everybody hear Shadow?
I think he switched his microphone to like his like laptop.
Let me
microphone.
send.
Can you hear me? Yes. Now we can.
Okay. So Shadow. I hear you in another screen.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Okay, so everybody hears everybody. We've been heard now. All right, we're starting this all the way over. We're starting back at 5 minutes. We'll see you in 5 minutes. I'm just kidding. We're not. What's up, everybody? Thank you for coming through, and thank you for sitting with us through all the technical difficulties. We are finally in here. Hooray, hooray, hooray. All right, y'all know what time it is. This is the matchup. We've been waiting all week since last week for this. Huge. I want to first say thank you to both Vigilante and Shadow Fox for coming through and doing this. This is going to be an absolute great time. Before we get into it, we have to read off the rules. I know everybody doesn't have Twitter, so they won't be able to know exactly what's going on with the rules. So, first things first. Rule number 1. No personal attacks, including but not limited to swearing or discussing one's family or lifestyle. Rule number 2. Allow the other to speak without interruption. We want to hear each competitor be heard and understood. Rule number 3. The links will be allowed. Now that we have technical difficulties, I don't know how that's going to fare out. So if you have links, you're more than welcome to throw them out if you're able to. If not, that's okay. And should be presented to the audience so they can view and understand where and what the individual is talking about. Rule number 4, there will be no time limit for each round, but there will be a total of 5 rounds for each subject. After both subjects are done, there will be a Q&A session, possibly 10 questions. That's where we're going to put it at the max. So if any of you guys have questions for our 2 debaters, make sure that you throw those questions out towards the end so we don't have to scroll all the way up because there is a lot of people watching. We want to kind of hone down on where the questions are coming from. Rule number 5. A poll will be placed early in the video so viewers can vote for the person that they side with. There will be 2 polls, one for YouTube, which is on the Sandstorm Rebirth channel that will go up. It looks like Prime also has one for his channel as well. If you want to vote, I will check over there as well. And one for Twitter as well. At the end, we will announce the polls. And those are the rules. The last little part's not important. So with that being said, we have our 2 competitors here, starting off with the first person, Angry Vigilante. How you doing, man?
I'm doing very good. Just to let you guys know, I got to take my headset off when I start talking or I'm going to hear myself talk back to me. But I'm doing pretty good. I'm the Angry Vigilante. I do salt content on Salty Fanboys on YouTube.
Fair. Thank you, Prime. Yeah, I appreciate that. Good luck. Prime is low-key mentoring me. And then we got my guy from the Winging It podcast, Shadow Fox Infinite. How you doing, man?
I stepped in the game all the way back from the end of days. You know who it is.
All right. So this one is going to be a fight for the ages. No low blows. No biting of the ears. We want a nice, clean fight, gentlemen. Is that understood?
Yep.
Clear.
All right. I am going to flip a coin here. We do have two topics. We're going to flip a coin to see who goes first. Vigilante, since you are the newest guest, will allow you to pick heads or tails.
Tails.
All right, and it came up. That's an ugly piece, but it came up heads. Shadow, would you like to go first or second?
I'll go second still.
All right. So our first topic of the night is going to be a very good one. It is the Switch 2 a 10th generation console?
You want me to start?
Yeah. Whenever, yeah.
Oh, I was waiting for you to tell me to go.
And here we go.
All right, yeah. So I believe that the Switch 2 feels like a Switch Pro over an actual Switch 2 because after you open the box up, it looks very similar to a Switch 1. The packaging is very similar to a Switch 1. And also when you start it up, the startup screen is almost virtually identical to the Switch 1. Also, the UI is very similar to the Switch 1. And then after you dive into Mario Kart World, it literally makes you forget you're even playing on a next-gen console. Graphically, it looks virtually like almost identical to what Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is. And that's why I believe it's more of a Switch Pro than an actual Switch 2.
All right.
I passed my turn.
Shadow?
Okay. So am I gonna talk about it? I guess I just need to get my piece out first, and then we'll do the back and forth, I guess, right? Let me do my thing first,
Sure.
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your intro? Yeah.
All right. Just standard definitions, right? So Merriam-Webster talks about what generations are, and they're defined by succession and time. So when there's a new product, whatever that new product is the next generation of that product. Whether it's from the same vendor or another vendor, they compete together for that time period. And once that time period elapses, another generation is started as soon as another competitor comes out with a newer product. There's a supersonic jet, the next generation of a supersonic jet, they don't just magically start making two of the same type of jet. It's a next generation of that same jet. And they don't wait on another person to say, hey, look, I'm making another generation of this jet. Whoever the other vendor is, they make their next generation of it, and then the other person makes their next generation of it. The same thing with cars. Every other product there is known to man. So we could leave the logical part and leave the how can I say this, the textbook definition of it, and still start talking about some of the things that are known colloquially within gaming, right? So you talk about console generations. Nintendo is allowed to start them. This is really weird and it bothers people for some reason, but Wii U started the 8th generation. There's still people that don't want to concede that. Switch, therefore, started the 9th generation. And the reason it started the 9th generation is because it was the successor to Wii U. And Nintendo didn't release two 8th generation consoles. They specifically said that NX was the successor to Wii U. Not 3DS, not anything else. It was the welcome to the next generation of Nintendo. This is NX. That became the Nintendo Switch. That started the 9th generation. Sony and Microsoft came a little bit late after that in 2020 for all kinds of reasons, for money and stuff going all the way back to the 7th generation. But obviously they had to start extended generations for some reason. Nintendo didn't have to do that. So now they've had their longest generation with the Switch, and obviously a successor, Switch 2 or whatever it's going to be named, is that next generation platform. The successor to a 9th generation platform is a 10th generation platform. I know it sounds weird, and Nintendo can't start generations, but they did 3 times in a row. Wii U, Switch, and Switch 2. Sony and Microsoft were late to the generation in 2020, and they're going to be late now in 2026 and 2027 in the 10th generation.
Okay, just so everybody, I barely could understand what Shadow said because of how bad the echo is on his mic.
Okay.
Is there any way, Sandstorm, that you can give me like a recap of what he said? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I talked about the textbook definition too, but that was a little bit different. Succession in time.
Okay. All right, so I'm not denying that Nintendo was calling it the 10th gen. I've already conceded that before, but I'm just saying that it feels like a Switch Pro because of the reasons that I sat there and said. Now, I know that the Wii U was the 8th gen. I know that the Switch was the 9th gen. That's actually the first time I've ever heard of people saying that the Switch was a Pro over the Wii U.
So this is going to be a little difficult because when I talk if it's an echo, I don't know how we're gonna. Vigilante, can you hear me at all, or is it just all mumble to you?
I can hear you, but hold on. I can hear you, but it's like right after you talk, like another second, it like re-echoes and says everything you said all over again. So it kind of like almost mumbles together.
Why is it looping? Oh man. Yeah, this is making things a little difficult here. Oh, okay. All right. So we'll try to do point by point. I'll try to do it as slow as possible. So everybody else can hear. But Vigilante, you made a point regarding it feels the same. I'm not going to argue opinions here, but I will say you have to look at not even history, just recent history. Microsoft made all their UIs look exactly the same, and I'm fairly certain that the Xbox One and the Series S and Series X are not of the same generation. That much I will say, and I'll just give you time because there's no. If I'm echoing like that, you won't have a chance to reply. You won't be able to hear anything. So, Sandstorm, did you hear any of that, or how are you able to? Okay, but that was my counter to the first point you made about the UI.
Okay, so are you because it was kind of hard to understand? Are you saying that the UI from the Xbox One to the Series X looks the same, or was that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I've never played an Xbox One, Xbox Series X. I'm a PlayStation and Nintendo person, but from what I remember, both of the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X actually does visually look different. You can tell one is different than the other when it comes to a console.
Yeah, that might have been true. That might have been true in 2013, but right before the Series S and the Series X launched, Microsoft revamped the UI again for the Xbox One. They're almost identical.
Yes, I'm talking about when you visually look at the consoles, though. They look completely different. You can tell one is different than the other. Maybe the UI might be the same, but it does.
Okay, I get what you're saying. You're saying the shell looks different. The actual console that you're holding. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. I'm not going to disagree with that. It's just, I mean, the Switch looks like a very much bigger Switch, but okay.
Slightly bigger.
Very much bigger. When you held them side by side, right?
No, I have not.
Yeah, it's it's unmistakable once you have them side by side next to each other. It's the screen itself is as big as the entire Switch with controllers together. It's
it's
a
like
pretty
less
big
than an inch
difference.
bigger.
Nah, it's more than an inch because you got an inch on each side for the Joy-Con themselves. It's a pretty big difference. I have a video I'll eventually upload anyway with my unboxing on it, but everybody's seen enough unboxings to know. It's a pretty big difference between those two. The box it does not tell what it looks like once you open it. I don't know what the other point was. I missed the other point. You said the UI. You mentioned something about the graphics. What about the graphics?
Mario Kart World does not look much different than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe graphically. When it comes to a launch title, it's supposed to sit there and showcase what the power of a new console can do, and they did not pick the correct title to do that. That's another reason why it feels like a Switch Pro over a Switch 2.
What do you mean by graphically, and there's no difference?
Mario Kart World just looks slightly graphically better than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It does not look dramatically better like you would get with a next-gen console.
Okay, could you elaborate a little bit more? Is there a better example or something? Or because I'm trying to figure out exactly what you mean by that.
Well, yes, like when you look at Donkey Kong Bonanza, for instance, like when they put the attention to detail with that trailer, like how the graphically looks in the game, it looks graphically better than any of the Switch 1 first-party titles that I've ever seen. Mario Kart World does not look like it's graphically better, like a dramatic graphically better than the other Switch 1 first-party titles.
What makes you think Donkey Kong Bonanza does that and Mario Kart World does not?
By visually looking at it.
And what are you
from the
looking
trailer
at though? What are you seeing?
The detail in the fur, the detail in the eyes, the detail in the surrounding, it just looks graphically detailed better than Mario Kart World.
So this is more of an aesthetic thing too. So you think that there's more detail there based on what you're seeing there, I guess animation and things like that?
Yeah, according to the Direct.
Okay. How much attention did you pay to the Mario Kart World footage that is available right now?
Well, I played Mario Kart World.
Okay. And you've played Mario Kart 8 and 8 Deluxe, I'm going to assume as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen the difference in animation and physics and stuff like that that's happening just on the carts alone?
I don't think that's that much of a difference.
Well, you might want to look because there's a dramatic difference. The weight distribution, everything, how the light refracts off of the objects, all of that stuff has been overhauled. If you actually look at the difference between that and Mario Kart 8 side by side, it's a 9-day difference. And there's side by sides out there. You can look at them. It's pretty drastic. And the big thing would be, it's all open world. They Xenobladed this game, which is that's one of my little takes that I say at this point, which is not something that would typically happen on Switch to begin with anyway, unless it was Monolith Soft doing it, and it definitely would not be at this scale, and it definitely would not be at the high resolution that it's at right now. I believe it's 1440p in some cases or whatever, but it's obviously an extremely high resolution game with high resolution textures, and that's definitely not something that would be considered in the realm of what Switch would be capable of doing without severe limitation, or how can I say this, impact on RAM more than anything else, because Switch is more fill rate limited on RAM than it is anything else, and then after that is CPU. And I mean there's just a 9-day difference there. So I would say instantly, as soon as you play Mario Kart World, you understand immediately why it is not Mario Kart 8. It is a completely different game. I mean, feel free to disagree, but based on the reasoning that you're giving me, I can't connect them together as in them being a consistent flow of thought. Like for the same reasons that you would say Donkey Kong Bonanza is looking better because there's more detail, brand new characters, stuff like that, I would say the same for Mario Kart World. not only are there more characters on screen at one time, there's 24 erasers at one time. In addition to that, so that's more CPU and GPU intensive. It's also more network intensive as well, and the system seems to have no trouble holding that up. So I don't know if that was too much because of the feedback, but I hope you got a gist of it.
All right, I'll try to remember everything you said and talk on them. Now, I still disagree. I don't look at Mario Kart World and look at Mario Kart 8 because I've sit there and seen them side by side, like on YouTube, and I see a little bit of a graphical difference with Mario Kart World, but not enough to justify a new console. It doesn't look like it's next gen to me. Is there anything else I missed?
Okay. I guess my next follow-up question for that would be, what would make it next gen?
Well, I believe from what I've seen in the direct, Donkey Kong Bonanza does look graphically better than Mario Kart World. I think that might be next gen. We will have to wait and see if it plays as well or it looks as good on the console itself.
No, I mean specifically for Mario Kart World, what would it have to have for you to consider it to be next gen?
I just think it should look graphically better.
In what way? What are we talking about?
Visuals. It does not visually look graphically better. Well, it looks slightly graphically better than Mario Kart World or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
No, I'm not trying to be confrontational. I'm really trying to understand what you're saying now. This isn't me trying to go at you. I'm really trying to understand what you mean, because you're just like nebulously saying graphics and you're just nebulously saying the way that it looks. And I'm like, you got to give some detail here. What exactly are we talking about? Is it lighting? Is it the resolution of the textures? Is it shadow volumes? What are we talking about that needs to happen to make Mario Kart World appear more next gen to you? That's kind of what I'm getting at.
I keep saying, when you sit there and look at the graphics on the PS4 and then you go to the PS5 graphics look better than the PS4 to me, and it looks like better than just slightly better to me. When I look at Mario Kart World graphically, it just doesn't look that much better than what Mario Kart 8 Deluxe looks.
I think I keep getting hung up on you using graphically because you're making a tangible claim but using an intangible term. You get what I mean? So if I say that something is valued more than the other, I have the math to pan that out. You're just saying graphically, and for all I know, that could just be your opinion and just say, hey, it just looks better to me. But we're not seeing.
Well, yeah, of course it is.
I mean, I could say that about a PlayStation 5 game looking weaker than a Switch 2 game. That's not. That serves no substance at that point. That's just really just my opinion and what art style I like the most. You get what I'm saying there?
Well, sure. This is completely my opinion. I can't prove. There's no way I can factually prove if it's a Switch 2 or if it's a Switch Pro. Well, you can technically prove it because Nintendo sits there and says that it's a Switch 2. This is purely my opinion here.
Yes, I'm asking what you're basing your opinion on. When you say graphically, what are you basing that on other than just I feel? Is there something that you see at all in particular that you can describe, or is it just a gut feeling?
Well, it's what I see. When I sit there and saw from PS4 to the PS5, the graphics were better compared to the PS4. When I sit there and see Mario Kart World to Mario Kart 8, to me, it does not look graphically that much better than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
So we're obviously going to be at an impasse on this because there's no way to even really have a discussion regarding that. Because I could just say that this is the best looking game that I've ever seen in my life, and the PS6 could drop tomorrow, and I'm going to say that looks last gen because Mario Kart World looks better than it, in my opinion. It's just kind of, I don't know. That's kind of disingenuous to me because I think you understand where I'm going with this. It's not. You have to be able to tie it to some type of internal value that you have to say why it looks the way that it does. It's not just, hey, this is the PS4 and the PS5 looks way better. There's a reason why. There's stuff that you see. There's global illumination. There's more details on textures. there's more details in character models, claw physics, things like that you saw to make that determination. And you're not really saying that. And that's where I'm kind of drawing the line here. So I don't know, but I would just say this specifically based on the graphics that you're saying right there, we'll table that. As far as the console being 10th generation or not, there's really no debate on that. You know physically what Nintendo has said, so it is a 10th generation console, and Nintendo can start generations 3 in a row apparently.
Okay, I've never denied that the other two weren't a generation. So, I mean, this was supposed to be like a peer opinion. You know, I didn't pick the topics, so I thought this was supposed to be an opinion debate.
Yeah, I mean that's fine, but I will never argue an opinion. I guess that's the other thing too. If you just say, "Hey, look, that's just how I feel," I would be wrong in trying to engage that because I'm not going to persuade you to feel differently. My goal is to talk about the facts and make sure there's no misconceptions going along here. And if that's how you feel, if you just look at that and you just say, "Hey, I feel like it's not next generation," and there's no way in the world that you're describing that, then I think I understand. I think I understand a lot of your channel now. I think I understand a lot of it. So I'm just gonna disagree on that off of that, because there's no way I can't disprove how you feel. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, you know, I do completely agree that you really can't disprove an opinion like that, you know, but no one can sit there and prove. I've never seen any facts that actually prove that it's a Switch Pro and not a Switch 2. When people are sitting there saying that it feels like a Switch Pro, it's pure opinion, it's pure feeling here. Yeah.
I mean, and factually speaking, it would be the next generation platform. Typically, Nintendo doesn't do pros anyway. This is something that mainstream media, gaming press, and stuff like that have been trying to will into existence, and it never really happened. I know. I think Nintendo Prime is probably listening right now. I know for a while, him and a couple other more popular YouTubers they really think that Switch Pro was a thing. I think at some point there was a development kit that was training people to get ready, but it wasn't for a Switch Pro. Nintendo was always aiming for the next generation, because this is, for them to do hardware like that, it takes them a long time to work with NVIDIA to get SoCs and stuff like that cut up. So this is going all the way back to 2021, maybe 2020, back when the deal was officially announced behind the scenes. So this has been in ink for a long time. So I don't know. That's neither here nor there. But so did you have another counterpoint for the first topic? Because I think the only other reason that I had that we know Switch is bringing the 10th generation in is because of how generations have been molded since the 7th generation and Wii and Xbox 360 and PS3 having to go back and copy what we did. So that kind of extended their generations. And that kind of bled over into the 8th generation and 9th generation and extended those generations as well for Sony and Microsoft. Nintendo didn't have to do such a thing, so they stuck to their 4 to 6 years, and here we are. So I don't know. Did you have anything to counter that, or is there any, or you're agreeing with that, right?
Can Sandstorm repeat the talking points, because it was very hard to understand you, Shadow?
Okay. You heard what I said, right? That last part, Sandstorm.
Run it by me one more time.
So I'm asking if he agrees about the 7 generations being stretched out for Sony and Microsoft, 7 to 8 generation being stretched out, and that's kind of where we are because Nintendo didn't have to.
He's basically asking, are you in agreement with the 7th generation being stretched out with Sony and Microsoft, and because of that, you know, that's where we are today, because Nintendo never really had to stretch out their generation. The time during that generation, I should say.
I don't really understand I don't really understand what he's trying to say. I don't understand the talking point really.
So basically, are you in agreement with the Nintendo pretty much starting each generation, the last 3 generations, 8th, 9th, and 10th generation?
Okay, yeah. The Wii was the 7th. The Wii U was the 8th generation. The Switch was the 9th, and technically the Switch 2 was the 10th. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, good. So I guess we can move on. I guess then at that point,
All right.
unless he has any other closing arguments.
No, I said what I said. I gave my opinion.
Okay. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, we are on to the second topic. This one is quite juicy. This is a juicy one. The topic is, or the question is, are third-party publishers at fault for gaming key cards? Now we had allowed, Shadow said he allowed you to go first, Vigilante. I will allow you to pick whether you want to go first or second.
I'll go first.
Okay.
All right. Well, I believe that both are at fault technically, but ultimately it depends on the situation. When you have companies like we'll use Bravely Default and Tetris, when they have such a small game like that, and the only option is a 64 gigabyte cartridge and then the game key card, then ultimately that's Nintendo's fault, because Nintendo should give them more options of what sizes of cartridges. Now, if a company's coming out with like a 50 or 60 gig and they choose to put it on a game key card, that is ultimately the third party's fault. But also, I believe if people are going to go after the third party, they should also keep the same energy for Nintendo when they're the ones that created those game key cards in the first place. I passed my turn.
All right. So with regards to that, the very first thing is we still have not confirmed whether or not that there are only 64 gig cards available. I know that, yeah, I've opened my Mario Kart World cartridge too, and it for whatever reason, that game that's 20 to 30 gigs or whatever is on a 64 gig card. Still don't know what's going on with that. Not sure if that's a thing or not, or that confirms whether or not there's only a 64 gig card, or there may just not be a 32 gig one. There's no way to really know. In addition to that, I would say if we're going to pass the buck to Nintendo, the question is, why did Nintendo create the game key cards then? If it's not for third party, why did they create them, and why isn't Nintendo publishing any games on game key cards if that's the case? That would be my counterpoint to that.
Well, my guess is the reason why Nintendo created those game key cards was to try to appeal to a lot of those third-party people. But it doesn't matter if Nintendo uses a game key card or not, or puts it on the 64 gig. That's the bare minimum for Nintendo to put their own game on a physical cartridge. So I'm not going to applaud Nintendo for doing the bare minimum.
That's understandable. But what you just did, though, was concede my point. If they did it to appeal to third parties, why are they doing it to appeal to third parties? And I think you kind of know where this is going.
I can barely understand what you just said.
Why didn't Nintendo create game key cards to appeal to third parties?
I already said that they gave it to them to try to make them happy, but they didn't have to. They could have said no.
Why would that make them happy? Let's continue.
Oh, because the third parties want to be cheap and put them on those game key cards.
Boom. So here we
Okay.
sit. This is the origin of the problem. Right? So Nintendo is at fault for a problem that originates with who?
Say
I
again?
just want everybody to say it out loud if they can. It's third party.
I can
Nintendo
barely
didn't create this
understand what you
problem.
just said.
Nintendo did not create the problem. Sandstorm, you can repeat it for me again.
Nintendo did not create the problem. It was third party that created the problem.
Well, technically, Nintendo created the problem because they're the ones that create. Regardless whether the third party wanted them or not, Nintendo had the ultimate say when it came to those game key cards. They could have said no. I passed my turn.
With the game, with the game key cards being there, right? One game is Street Fighter 6. That game could fit on a 64 gig cartridge. So I don't really think it's about the availability of the sizes.
Okay,
Capcom
with
is a
Street
big
Fighter 6,
third-party
that is
publisher.
ultimately Capcom's fault. They could have put the base game on that 64 gig cartridge and then did some type of code or something for the season passes. They obviously couldn't put both season passes and the base game on the cartridge itself. It's too big. But no, that in that situation, yes. But if you look at like Bravely Default, that situation is ultimately Nintendo's fault because they didn't give an option for a different size cartridge. And also, you got to look at the Tetris one on top of that because that game has such a small data too. They don't need a 64 gigabyte cartridge for those.
I feel like I need to rebut that point again because you're stating that as if it's fact. We do not know if Nintendo only has a 64 gigabyte cartridge. He reiterated that twice as if it was fact. We do not know that. That is rumors that's been spread around and we have not confirmed that. So we can't assume that as a premise.
Well, until Nintendo comes out and says that there are different sizes, or if someone comes out and says and shows proof, my opinion is still going to stand that there's only a game key card and a 64 gigabyte cartridge.
Now, you know that's an argument from ignorance, right? That's a fallacy.
No, it's
You
not.
can't say an absence of evidence is evidence of absence. You can't do that. That's not how it
No,
works.
because to my knowledge, there is only a 64 gigabyte cartridge and there is only a game key card. So unless there's more evidence to come out and show, my opinion is still going to stand where it stands. There's only a 64 gig or there's a game key card. Now, unless you have other evidence to support that there is other size cartridges, then my opinion is going to stay the same.
You're doing it again. If you're making the claim that there are only 64 gigabyte cartridges, then you have to prove that. A statement from Nintendo or from somewhere or from, at this point, Macronix saying that is all that we produce. We know that isn't true and that statement doesn't exist. So
So far,
all
to
we
my
know,
knowledge,
your knowledge, but you cannot state that as a fact. You can't make that into a premise.
do you have any proof that there are other size cartridges besides the 64 gig or the game key card?
Other than the evidence that the manufacturers are still the same? No. But I don't have to because you're the one making the claim that that's all they have.
To my knowledge, there's only a 64 gig and there's only a game key card. So unless there is other evidence to support that there's not, my opinion is still going to stand the same.
Again, that's an argument from ignorance. You can't do that.
Absolutely
I've never seen what an astronaut does on the International Space Station. I've never seen what they do up there. I have to take their word for it, right? But at the same point in time, I can't sit here and say that what they do doesn't exist because I haven't seen it myself.
Okay, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt when they sit there and talk about the space station.
Yeah,
Unless there's more evidence to support that there is a reason for me not to believe them.
There's a thing about empirical evidence, though, right? So the empirical evidence that we have right now is we know there's a 64 gigabyte card. We know that there's so many kilobytes of a game key card, right? We know that because we physically have them in our hands. We see them. We know that there's a 64 gig dual card, which prompts the Switch to download extra data for the Switch 2 version of a game, right? We know that exists. We know that dual cards exist that also work on Switch 1. We know those exist. Those different models, there's 4 different models of cards that exist that are made either by Lapis or Macronix from the data that we understand. For everything that we've heard about, every outlet that has said there's only 64 gigabytes or whatever, they're based on rumors though. None of it has been confirmed. Nobody's talked to a manufacturer about it. And it definitely isn't from somebody looking at, I don't know, a run of cards and saying that's all they have. That hasn't happened. But you can clearly look and see what a 64 gigabyte card looks like if you open one up. So we can't just go by a rumor and then say, well, that's my knowledge and therefore I'm just going to say this is the problem. So I really, that's your opinion. That's fine. But you can't empirically embed that in a statement. You can say,
Well, you know, if they
I
have
feel
other
that there
size
are.
cartridges, let's say just for an argument's sake, if they have like a 32 gig or a 30 gig, and a company's coming out with a game that is that size, and they choose to put it on a game key card, then I will believe that it is the third party's fault over Nintendo. But there is no proof at all that there are other size cartridges other than a 64 gig or a game key card. To our knowledge, we know that there is a 64 gigabyte and a game key card. If there are other size cartridges, then Nintendo needs to come out and say it.
Okay, I hear you on that. But please understand that that's still a fallacy though. For the
Not at all.
reason I suggested. Just because you don't have the information doesn't mean that what you're saying is true.
I'm basing my
As soon as
opinion based upon the information at hand.
And that's fine, but just know that isn't reality though. Because if Nintendo comes out with that information, then yeah, you'll concede and say whatever. But the entire time, that premise was false. You just waited until Nintendo proved you wrong.
My opinions are willing to change based upon new information coming forward. If I turned out I was wrong, I'm not afraid to admit it.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just telling you that is a logical fallacy based on that though. That you can't make that leap because you have a lack of information. That's exactly what happened with Digital Foundry when they were assuming things didn't have DLSS until they were proven wrong, which is
I don't know about
crazy to think
Digital
because
Foundry.
I don't know either. That's a whole nother story, a whole different conversation. I'm gonna keep it on the line here. So, but that's my whole sticker was about the 64 gigabyte card thing. We can't really blame it on them if we don't have the information to suggest that. Like if they did only have 64 gigabyte cards, which we still don't know, maybe you would be right about blaming Nintendo on that. They didn't give them enough options and stuff like that. But we don't know. And we also know that if third parties are given the option to fit their game on the 64 gigabyte card, they still don't want to do it because Capcom didn't. They're a very big third party and they did not do it for Street Fighter 6. They did not. I mean, the game key card still works well, but no, that could have been all on one card. It most definitely could have been. So even when the third parties can do what they're supposed to do, could do what they're supposed to do, they still don't. So I don't even know how you could. I don't know. All you have to do is look at the list of games on Switch that have downloadable content required on those cases, and look at some of these other games that got ported and they were only on 8 gigabyte cards and it was like a 32 gig game, but they compressed everything to hell and back. Like, these publishers don't want to spend money on these cards at all. They just don't want to do it. They want everything to be digital because it's kind of free to them. So that's what Nintendo was doing. They were trying to aim towards that and saying, hey, share costs with us on our server and you could download the game there. I would not fault them for that. Because all they were trying to do was increase their retail space. They still got to pay for it. Why would they want empty shelves or just stuff that just 9 million Mario Kart worlds lining up the shelf space? So I guess if you think about it from that aspect, it makes a lot more sense as far as their decision and why they chose to do what they did. Because if Nintendo said, hey, put all your games on a card or don't publish with us, the games won't show up at all. Then whose fault is it? They will blame Nintendo again.
Okay, so when it comes to Street Fighter 6, it's absolutely Capcom's fault. That one's not Nintendo's fault. They could have used that 64 gig cartridge, they chose not to. But when it comes to games that are the smaller games like Bravely Default, Tetris, those are Nintendo's fault because the only options that we know of at this moment is a game key card and a 64 gig cartridge.
Who published Bravely Default?
Square Enix, I believe.
Square Enix, when they had the opportunity to use the right size of card on Switch for, let's say, any of the Final Fantasy games, really. Final Fantasy 7 and 8, I believe, were on a dual cart. How did that work out?
I'm guessing that they use the game key cards, or what? I'm guessing they use the smaller size, correct?
only Final Fantasy VII is on that cartridge. Well, I'm sorry. I'm thinking
Okay,
of.
well,
I'm thinking
if
of
they
10
had
and
the
10 2.
options to use the
10 and
actual
10 2 is
right size
what I'm thinking
cartridge and
about.
they chose not to because they wanted to be cheaper, then that's Square Enix's fault. But it doesn't matter what they did on the Switch 1. You know, the Switch 1 didn't have major third party AAA titles. Doesn't mean Nintendo shouldn't be trying to go after those major AAA third party titles. So they still should sit there and try to give different size cartridges. Now, if the third party choose not to use them, then that's the third party's fault on that one and not Nintendo's.
I'm saying there, if that was the case on Switch for 2 ports of old PS2 games, right? They didn't want to spend for the extra space for those 2 games. The entire second game, 10-2, you had to download the entire game. If they didn't want to spend the money then, you know they don't want to spend the money now. That's just
okay.
that's
Well, and
just
when it comes to the
Square
Switch
Enix.
1, that's completely irrelevant. We're in a new generation. They should still Nintendo should still give them the option to do it. And if they choose not to do it, then yeah, we need to blast the third party people for that. But right now,
I'm just saying,
as of my knowledge,
I'm saying
Nintendo only has 2 options at the moment, so Nintendo's going to get some fault for it.
we don't know if they only have 2 options. You're doing that again. We don't know. And I would say at this point, I would not be surprised if Nintendo did have options to say like a 4 to 16 gigabyte cartridge. Square Enix probably still would have done what they did.
And if that is true, I will blame Square Enix for that one.
But the whole thing is, we still really don't know. So you can't really,
That's
without all the
Nintendo's
data,
fault
'cause
then.
we don't know if it's Nintendo's fault. Because the reason that you're using to blame them, we don't have all the information for that yet.
If
that whole
Nintendo
fallacy thing I was
chooses
talking about
to
before.
not tell us that there are other size cartridges, then that is Nintendo's fault.
Why would Nintendo have to tell you? That's between them and the publishing partner. The publishing partner knows, but they're signed under NDA. So we have no idea what's really going on.
Well, it doesn't matter that we know, because with the Switch 1, we knew that there were different size cartridges on the Switch 1. So why did we know with the Switch 1? With the Switch 2, you know, if they're going to have different size cartridges and they don't tell us, of course we're going to blame Nintendo if they only give them 2 options to our knowledge at this moment. But like I keep saying, if there are
did Nintendo
different
ever
size
state-
cartridges and Nintendo comes out and says it, or there's proof to back it up, I will change my opinion on it.
When did Nintendo ever state what size the cartridges were on Switch 1?
It was stated that there were 64 gig cartridges and game key cards. That's pretty common knowledge.
They never did 64 gig. 32 was the highest.
Say again?
And 32 was the highest. And they
Yeah,
didn't
no,
state
32
that.
size.
Nintendo never stated that.
Okay.
Gaming Press stated that.
Okay, but did it make it untrue? Was there a 32 gigabyte cartridge? 32 gigabyte
Yes,
cartridge?
there was. And Macronix made a statement after the game was published. It was Witcher 3 and there was another game. It was a Dragon Quest game. So we got it from the actual manufacturer that makes the cards for Nintendo. As of
Okay,
right now,
well-
we've heard nothing. And that was only for one size. There's about 7 different sizes of Switch cards. Nobody confirmed 1 gig, 2 gig. Nintendo never made statements about this. 4 gig, 8 gig, 16. Nintendo never made statements about that.
Well, when it comes
So
to
why
the
do they
Switch
need to make
2,
a statement now?
we don't know of any other size cartridges. No one's came out and said it. To our knowledge, there's only a 64 gig and a game key card. So unless there is other or information that comes out, my opinion will stay the same when it comes to the 64 gig and it comes down to the game key card. If companies have too small of a game to put on a 64 gig and they choose a game key card, that is ultimately Nintendo's fault.
How would you even know? You didn't know during Switch. I just told you how they gave the information for the 32 gig card. I could be a little bit wrong on that detail, but I'm pretty sure Nintendo didn't make that announcement. Macronix did, and the actual publisher that did the 32 gig game. I know CD Projekt Red talked about it at one point during their postmortem, but Nintendo never came out with that information. So, and they really didn't come out with what's here now. That's people opening their own carts and telling you what's inside of them. So Nintendo doesn't have to announce anything. And they're
I'll
not
give you
going
the
to.
benefit of the doubt that you were correct about the whole Switch 1 part, because I don't know who gave out the information either. But we know that right now, when it comes to the Switch 2, there are 2 different cartridges at this very moment. If there are other sizes, then if there's more information that comes out, I will change my opinion. I will sit there and say that it's the third party's fault and not Nintendo's. But as of right now, we only know of 2 sizes at this very moment.
And so why would you blame Nintendo on that with the absence of evidence? Yeah, that's
Well, it's not my fault if there's absence of evidence. No evidence has been permitted so far.
Okay, so the default is to blame Nintendo. Like the entire reason we're talking about this right now. There's only 2 options out there, and you have a small game like Tetris that is too small for a 64 gig, and if there's only 2 options, then the game and they choose a game key card, that is Nintendo's fault for not giving them another option. But you said if. So if. But we can't prove if.
You can't prove that there's other size cartridges.
That's an argument from ignorance. You're making the claim, you are solidly making the claim that there's only 2 sizes of cards right now. We do not have definitive information that is true. And you're using that to base who should be blamed right now. Are you not understand? I've been explaining this for like the last 20 minutes now. You're not understanding the leap there?
I understand you clearly, but
you can't get to B without resolving A first.
At this very moment, to our knowledge, there's only 2 size cartridges.
Okay. And therefore, you can't jump to your conclusion because you don't have enough information to say that it's Nintendo's fault.
Of course I can jump to my conclusion. It's my opinion.
Okay. So your opinion is lack of evidence is evidence of absence.
If there's lack of evidence, then that's who's ever fault for not saying it. No one's came out and said that there were other size cartridges.
If it's not in your face,
there's only been 2 so far.
I just told you Nintendo never announced any of the card sizes for the original Switch. I really just told you.
No matter.
But we know there are like 7.
At this very moment, there's only 2 cartridges at this very moment that have been announced. We only know of the 64 gig and the game key card.
Nobody announced those either. Nintendo just told you what the game key cards were. They didn't tell you what size the ROM was on the inside, whatever the little bootloader thing is. They never told you that. They never gave you any specifications on that.
Well, I don't know what size the game key card is exactly. Obviously, it has to be smaller than the Tetris game because they're put it on there, or they're supposed to.
I'm saying there was no formal announcement on any of that. So there's nothing to really base it on. And there wasn't a formal announcement of any of the cards for the Switch 1 either.
Well, we know that there's a 64 gig, and we know that there's a game key card. If there are in-between sizes, that information is missing. None of us know about it.
Who is we?
Say again?
Who is we?
When I say we, I'm saying all of us. It is very common knowledge there's a 64 gig cartridge and a game key card. Cyberpunk or CD Projekt Red said they put their game on a 64 gig cartridge.
So did Nintendo make that statement or CD Projekt Red made that statement?
Well, if unless there's more information to support that CD Projekt Red was wrong, to our knowledge, there is only a 64 gig and a game key card.
I don't think you know where I'm going here. I'm not saying that to say that CD Projekt Red is wrong. They confirmed the size of the 32 gigabyte card for The Witcher 3 on Switch 1. What I'm saying is Nintendo never announced those sizes at all.
Okay, well, I can't do nothing with a maybe here. You're sitting there saying that there might be other sizes. There's no proof to back it up.
I am saying that the information that you're baking in as a premise in your statement to come up with the opinion that you have is your opinion in the first place. That's all. That's all I'm saying. It's not based on any. I'm sorry.
My opinion still stands. There, according to my knowledge, there's only a 64 gig and a game key card. If the game is big enough for the 64 gig and they choose not to, then it is the third party. If it's a 20 gig game and all they have is an option between the 64 gig and a game key card, and they choose that game key card, that is also Nintendo's fault for not giving them a different option.
But you don't know.
Neither do you. None of us know.
You get my point though. But I'm not saying
Your
my
point makes no
stance
sense.
Isn't. But my point is we don't know. So my
None of
point
us
isn't
know.
disproven. My point isn't disproven. Your point is because you don't have enough evidence.
No, absolutely not. My point is not disproven.
You don't have enough evidence to make it.
You don't have enough evidence to make your point. You're sitting there saying it based upon a maybe.
My point is we don't know. So of course my opinion is correct. We don't know. We don't have enough information.
Of course. And if you have other information, I will gladly accept it.
The whole point is I don't, which makes my opinion accurate.
Yeah, and with my opinion,
You don't have it
to
either,
our
so
knowledge
that makes
right
your
now,
opinion-
the information at hand, we know of a 64 gig and a game key card.
With the information at hand. From where?
I've already told you, CD Projekt Red came out and said that they put it on a 64 gig cartridge.
CD Projekt Red, right? So
Yep,
who
that's what I
said that
said.
there is just 64 gig?
I never said that there were just. I said that to our knowledge, we only know of a 64 gig and a game key card.
So based on the only information that you got confirmed, that's what you're going to go on, and that's the conclusion you're going to draw from just that.
That is
There's
the
a
only
whole
information
gap.
anybody can go off of. No one can go off any other information. There is no other information.
Sounds like we are at a perfect impasse. Which is good. So we have hit our 2 questions. We're gonna get into some of the juicy good stuff, because now it is time for the questions from the audience. If you have a question, I know Prime is streaming on his channel. I can't look like down and up at the same time. So if you have a question, shoot over to the Sandstorm channel real quick. Throw your question out. Both of our guests will have the time to be able to answer on how they feel about each question. So starting off, I know there's going to be some questions in the channel. Looks like we are quite active. Let's see.
Still echoing to anybody else, or is it just Vigilante?
I haven't heard an echo from either one of you guys.
Okay, I didn't hear
okay.
an echo either. So
Okay. I'm gonna have to write the second one down. Prime asked the first question. Shout outs to Nintendo Prime. He says, "Why is Nintendo anti-consumer with Switch 2, or why not?"
I'm assuming those questions directed at me.
They're actually for both of you guys, so you both will answer.
You can go first, Shadow.
why is Nintendo anti-consumer with the Switch 2?
Or why not?
I mean, I'll make cases for both. I'll say they're anti-consumer right now because I mean we need a couple more games to play. That'll be nice, but they're coming soon. There's a couple coming through. And there's for them not being anti-consumer. I mean, several reasons. Obviously, they're I'll say for the anti-consumer part. Well, I won't say anti-consumer because streamers and other people trying to make money off Nintendo's IP are not consumers. But those are the people that complain a lot. But for Nintendo not being anti-consumer, I mean, my biggest case for that is they give the gamers what they want. If you want the game, you buy it. Nintendo responds based on what you buy, and it obviously works because they keep they're the only people that have evergreen titles. Like no other publisher really knows what that is. But Nintendo keeps their value high on games for a long time, obviously, because people still want to buy them at their price. And there were a couple times when Nintendo did have to lower them down when they had the selects or whatever, when they were $20 on other platforms. But that hasn't really happened that much. Usually they keep their value throughout every generation, going back to the NES. So obviously they have a demand for their product because their IP has value. So I would say that's pro-consumer.
Are you done?
Yes, sir.
All right, I will say that Nintendo is anti-consumer because they're overcharging games like Mario Kart World. And instead of giving you a pack-in title that's a tech demo for your console, they're sitting here overcharging you for that. Now, for it being not anti-consumer, I guess I would say with the Drag X Drive, they're only charging $20 instead of $40 or $50 like a bunch of us thought it was going to be. I'm done.
Yeah, I will say I did think I thought Dragon Drive was going to be at least $40. That much I will say. As far as Mario Kart World being $80, how much did you pay for Mario Kart World?
I didn't buy it.
You didn't buy it. So what's the complaint then?
Doesn't matter if I buy it or not. It's still overpriced.
Based on what?
No game should ever be at an $80.
Based on what?
My opinion.
Your opinion.
Yes, in
So-
most people's opinion.
No, not in most people's opinion, because
There are most.
I don't want to get personal here, but I'm just gonna assume that you're above the age of 30.
Yep.
Am I correct? Okay. So I'm pretty sure you don't have to go research. You know that games used to be priced based on ROM cost, right?
Basically priced on what?
ROM cost. Do you remember those days?
No, I do not.
Okay, so $200 Neo Geo cartridges. You don't remember any of that?
No, I do not. And I
Okay,
would say it's
so-
overpriced.
So back then it wasn't overpriced because it was actually priced based on how much ROM was on the cartridge back then. And ROM was expensive. And it actually kind of still is right now. And that's the majority of what you're paying for on a cartridge right now. Mask ROM is not cheap.
Yeah, I do not believe that they charged Mario Kart World at $80 because it cost that much to make. I believe that they sat there and charged it because they knew they can get away with it.
Just in your opinion, just float it out here. How much do you think one 64 gigabyte cart costs to print?
If I remember correctly, it's $16.
If you remember correctly, from where?
I believe I
I'm
heard that
asking
from
you off the
Nintendo
top of your
Prime.
head. From what?
I believe I heard that from Nintendo Prime.
From Nintendo Prime? Yeah, okay, so anywhere between, and this is based on mass ROM prices from Macronix based on per pin, right? So if it could be anywhere between $15 to $20 depending on how much they're charging per megabit per pin, and it depends on how wide each set of pins are. So, and the last time I did the math on this was a long time ago, but Macronix was charging anywhere between $10 to $12 for the original Switch carts back in the day, up to 32 gigs. So you end up paying a hefty amount for each cart being printed. Now on top of that, you have to pay a publishing cost to the console manufacturer, and you have to buy them all in bulk. And you have to pay for the retailer because you're paying brick and mortar to put it there. And I don't know what their percentages are to put in the store, but at some point you're not making that much of a profit. So that's why back then, anyway, when you had a 32 megabit cartridge back in the day, or a 64 megabit cartridge back in the day, they were anywhere between $60 to $90. Because that's literally how much it cost them. They passed the savings on to you because they could not afford to pocket the difference. That is probably still going to be the case for a lot of Switch 2 cartridges going forward, just like it was for Switch. And I know, I'll put it this way. I agree with you on you saying that a lot of these games shouldn't be this expensive. it was just funny to me because I didn't hear any of this smoke for when games magically jump from 50 to 60 or when they jump from 60 to 70. I don't know if that's because Nintendo didn't start it or what, but those games jumped to that price and it wasn't even warranted because they were on disc at the time. And disc cost pennies to print. So it's a completely different avenue we're talking about at this point. So I'm wondering why, you know, I would say that you should probably reevaluate that based on cost alone. And yeah, sure, Nintendo is a company or whatever, but they're also a first-party publisher, and they're also a third-party licenser too, and they can't go broke doing a third-party publisher's job. The third-party publisher should pay for whatever goes on there, so they should be paying for all those carts and all the costs associated as well.
Okay, well, I will never believe that Mario Kart World, unless Nintendo comes out with the exact amount, how much it costs to make, which we all know they're never going to sit there and tell us how much it costs to make Mario Kart World. I do not believe that they need to charge that game at $80 to make a profit. I believe they could charge it at 70 or 60 and still make plenty of profit. Now, when it comes to games going to 50 to 60, 70, you know, like, or 60 to 70, I didn't have a YouTube channel at that time, so I couldn't really speak about that. And I don't really remember
You can
when
speak
games
about it
went
now.
from
I'm right
60 to
here.
70.
You can speak about it now. I'm right here. How did you feel about it?
Well, I don't remember when they went from 50 to 60, but when they went from 60 to 70, there are plenty of games out right now. I don't think they should be at $70.
Okay. When it first went to 70, how did you feel about it?
I don't remember it. I had a Switch at the time. I was playing only on the Switch. I didn't notice that they went up to 70.
Okay. Alrighty. So I would say this. For those other platforms, they didn't really have an excuse. I'm not really giving Nintendo an excuse because they're a billion-dollar company, but at the same point in time, I understand. Because they're literally producing them at cost. Sony and Microsoft are not, especially Sony, because they have a foundry to print their own Blu-rays. And you're printing 100 gigabyte Blu-rays, third parties are buying them and they're still not using the whole disc.
Yeah, and when Sony decides to release a game at 80, I'm going to blast them for that too. I blasted Microsoft for doing it for Outer Worlds too. I didn't like that they're going to release that game at $80.
So if Mario Kart World and you don't like that and it's $80, right? It's not just available at $80.
Say again?
It's not just available at $80. So isn't that a solution?
Yeah, I don't care about the bundle because when you buy the bundle, the price, or not the price, but sorry, I keep hearing echoing. But when you buy the bundle, the total sale is still going to be included with the Mario Kart World if you buy it physical. So it doesn't matter. It's still going to show like how many Mario Kart World sold is going to be included together.
But what do you mean? I'm saying if you bought the digital bundle, you're not buying it for $80. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and
That
it's
sounds
really
like a
relevant
solution.
because it's still going to sit there and include the sales all together. There are going to be other companies that are going to look at Mario Kart World going forward like, oh, well, this one sold this well. That means we can raise them up to 80, which I don't think we should.
Is that how you think? Is that how you think publishers do this? You know they have project management, right? They plan this out way ahead of time. They don't look at what Nintendo was doing. They've already planned what they're going to do for Switch 2. You're aware of that, right?
Well, if Nintendo was the first one to ever release an $80 game in this modern time, then I'm going to blame them for it. They're the ones that first did it, and I'm going to believe that other people are going to look at that and be like, oh, well, we can also raise our games to $80 also. Because that's what's going to happen now.
The Outer Worlds was already planned to be $80. That was.
Do you have
they
any
had
proof that it was
planned
supposed to be $80 before Mario Kart World came out?
Yeah, but they can't do that last minute. MSRP changes go through project management too. That is hellified scope creep. There's no way any corporation would have a team of people. Well, the project manager would definitely be fired to hell and back if they made those kind of sweeping changes last minute. So they're not looking at, look at Mario Kart World, let's change our price. That's not happening. You talking about global corporations right now. That's not how that works. That was planned months, maybe years in advance.
Okay, well, unless you have any proof, because what you're sounding sounds nice, but you got no proof to back it up. All I know is that Outer Worlds 2 came out with that price, or Microsoft came
That's
out
how
with the price
project
of Outer
management
Worlds 2
happens, dude.
after Nintendo did. So you can sit there and say, "Oh, well, they already had this plan." You got no proof to back it up.
So you really think a company that plans projects out for years at a time, right? That's financing too. All of that. They have entire teams dedicated to this and allocating finances and funds and things like that to figure out how they're going to produce and shelve things, right? They will have to go back and tell each retailer that they pre-planned with that they're changing the SKU code and they're changing the MSRP on. They would have to go back and do all of that, and all that planning. They'll have to reverse all of that. And you're telling me that on a whim because they saw a Mario game on April the 2nd.
It's completely possible that they wanted to charge it at $80, but again, we have no proof that they wanted to charge it before Nintendo did it. Now, I will perfectly agree that companies have been trying to raise price, or developers have been trying to raise prices on games for a long damn time, but unfortunately, Nintendo was the first one to do it, so Nintendo's going to get a lot of heat for it.
But based on what I just said, should they get heat from it from you now that you know what I just told you?
I don't care what you just said. You got no proof to back it up.
Whoa, so you're not believing what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying, but you got no proof to back it up.
You really think a corporation operates like that? That they'll just, oh, tonight I'm just going to copy what Nintendo's doing.
I'm not a corporation. I don't know how they think. All I know is that they like to think about being greedy. That's it.
Of course, they like to be greedy. The entire goal of a corporation is to incur profit. Sure, but how do they know how much profit they get if they don't plan it out? They don't know what backlash this will end up being. They have to do a whole bunch of planning and stuff to say, hey, look, if we do this or not, how much blowback are we going to get? There's entire meetings planned around things like this. Global meetings planned around stuff like this. And they can't just switch up and say we're going from 70 to 80 without some type of workshopping. That's a big change to do last minute because they saw Nintendo do something. And I don't think a month is enough. Well, I guess at this point, 8 weeks. I don't think 8 weeks is enough time for them to make that big of a change.
Well, if you remember Dragon Age the Belguard, they dropped that price real quick.
Dragon Age the Belguard based on what? What are you talking about?
When it first came out, it was 70, and within a matter, I think it was like a month or two afterwards, it dropped the price very quick because of how terrible a game it was.
But that's normal. That's not the same concept of what we're talking about here. We're talking about raising the price before launch.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does matter. MSRP is tracked once a product is released, and they drastically drop prices all the time. You know it. You look at PS4 and Sony games all the time. By the end of the year, they're about half price.
Okay, well, we're gonna just have to agree to disagree on this one. I'm against $80 games. You're perfectly fine with paying for $80 games. That's your choice. But I'm going to still continue to stand here and fight against $80 games no matter what.
But there's no need for you to fight against it because you could just buy the bundle for $50. What is that? I mean,
I don't care if you buy it for $50. I've already sat there and said if you buy the bundle and you buy the physical copy, it's going to go towards the total sale no matter what.
Why would you buy the bundle and buy the physical copy? If you buy the bundle, you don't need a physical copy.
I'm saying if you sit there and buy the bundle, and if you sit there and buy the physical copy, it's still going to count as a sale regardless for Mario Kart World.
Okay, so what's the problem with that?
Because it's going to show that Mario Kart World did so well at an $80 price. That's the way other companies are going to be looking at it, in my opinion.
Oh, so that's what you think? Okay.
Yep.
So if the game, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's even cheaper digitally too. I'm not sure here. I don't know what the official price is right now. Or let's see, what is it right now? Is it? It's not the 79. Oh no, their site's slow right now. But anyway, so if that's the case, right? And you're just assuming all of that. So any other game that's bundled, your goal is you want to protest. That's what that sounds like to me. And if you purchase the game in any way, shape, or form, it's not about whether or not it's $80 to you. It's how it looks to other people. that the gist?
Say again.
Is the
I can
gist
barely hear
to
what you're
sit-
trying to say.
Is the gist that you don't want an $80 game, or you want to send the signal that $80 games shouldn't be purchased? Because it sounds to me like, number one, you didn't purchase the game at all, and number two, you could buy the game for $50 if you bought the bundle. So it's not about you per se wanting to buy an $80 game or not. It's about how it looks.
Okay, so I am a firm believer. I'm gonna say this once again, and that's it. I am against
Mhm.
any $80 game. No game is worthy of an $80 price tag. I will never buy an $80 game, regardless if they sit there and want to sell it in a bundle. If I go out and buy a Switch 2 right now, I promise you, I don't care if they give me Mario Kart World for free. I'm not going to take it. Well, okay, I might take it to give it away for free, but I will not buy Mario Kart World, period. I will not pay for it
Wait.
because that is greedy of Nintendo to sit here and charge an $80 game. No game is worthy of $80, period.
Wait, why would you take it for free?
Because a free game, it's not going to count as a total sale if they're giving it to me for free
Hold on.
anyways.
Hold on, but if it's a free game, it's counted sold. And
It's already counted as
that
sold if they're giving it away for free. I played my cousin's copy of Mario Kart World, doesn't mean I count it as a total sale.
But if they gave you a free one, that is a SKU that got sold.
It's
Nintendo
already given
gave
out
you
for
a
free
free one.
anyways. It's not going to count as an extra sale anyways. It's already free. They're not going to
if
give it out for
Ninte-
free anyways.
No, if Nintendo gives you one out for free, it counts as a sale that they're comping. But it still counts as being sold, which means that Mario Kart World got sold, and the same thing that you're fear-mongering about, an $80 game looking like it sold well, still happens.
It's already been given. It's already going to be counted as a sale period if they give it out for free. Nintendo's not going to give it out for free anyways. If you gave me a free copy, I would play it. How about that?
So why wouldn't you buy the bundle then? It's the same concept.
Well, number one, I'm not buying the bundle because I don't buy systems brand new, especially for Nintendo, because Nintendo doesn't deserve my money sitting here putting games at $80 in the first place.
That wasn't your original argument, though. You said if you bought the bundle, it would still be fulfilling the prophecy of the $80 game. So why would you take it for free then? Because the same concept would still apply. That $80 game would still look like it's getting sold well because that comped system with the game that you got still counts. So why would you take it for free? You're against $80 games.
It's free. I didn't pay for it. And it's not going to count. It's already been counted towards the total sale anyways. That's like me sitting here taking a free game from someone else that they're like, here, you can just have for free. They already bought it anyways.
So does the $50 one. They already comped you $30 when you buy it digitally with the system.
The $50, they're not giving it to you for free. You have to pay for that $50.
Yes. So what's the problem? Buy it for $50.
Because it's still going to count as that total sale anyways. If you, for instance,
with the free
said, okay,
one,
here, I don't want to play Mario Kart World anymore, and you give it to me, I didn't pay for that. It's not going to count as an extra sale at that
but
point
if
anyways.
Nintendo gives it to you for free, I'm not talking about a person handing it to you that already paid for it. If Nintendo gives it to you for free, it creates the same problem as buying it as a $50 bundle.
Okay, fine. I will backtrack and say if Nintendo gives it to me for free, I will not sit there and take it. But if you give it to me for free, here, I'll take it. How about that? Is that better?
Thank you for being consistent. Yes, I'll take it.
And what about the welcome tour thing that I talked about?
About welcome tour?
When I said that it was anti-consumer to make us pay for it. When it should have been packed in.
I think that just like the cartridge situation, you don't have enough information to make that statement.
How do I have enough information to make a statement about welcome tour?
Because value is determined by the market, right?
I never said that it wasn't worthy of $10. What I'm saying, it should have been a pack-in title. It says it's a tech demo for your console itself.
And you're saying it's not worth $10 then? Or you're saying that the Switch 2 should cost $460?
No. I think it should have been a pack-in title.
If you're saying Welcome Tour is worth $10, while at the same time saying it should have been a pack-in title, you're saying the Switch 2 should have been $460.
No, they could charge $450 and give it to you as a pack-in title. It's literally a tech demo for your console.
And you're saying it's not worth $10.
It should have been packed in, period. If it wasn't a tech demo and it was a different type of game, sure.
Is it just a tech demo?
Yes, it's just a tech demo pretty much. I haven't played it. I'm not going to play it. I refuse to play it.
It's more than a tech demo.
It is still a tech demo nonetheless.
I really just said it's more than a tech demo.
But you still acknowledge it's still a tech demo.
No, because if it's more than a tech demo, then it's not a tech demo.
If a tech demo is part of it, it still makes it a tech demo.
What? In Super Mario Odyssey is a tech demo. Because when you swim in one of the levels there, that's literally the stress test that they use for Switch in production.
When you sit there and see a picture of Mario Odyssey, you don't see a controller of the Switch, people walking around on the Switch. When you see that welcome tour, they literally have a picture of people walking around on the Switch Joy-Con itself.
Okay, but that doesn't determine what a tech demo is. That's just how the game looks.
A rational person's going to look at that and think tech demo.
But we don't determine what a rational person is. That's a no true Scotsman fallacy.
No, that's not. It's an opinion.
It's because you're calling me unrational.
I'm not calling you. I'm saying it's my opinion.
No, you
The
said
welcome
a
tour
rational person
looks like a
would.
tech demo.
That's not a good statement to make. You're saying a rational person would say, I'm disagreeing with that. So you're calling me unrational?
I guess.
Probably shouldn't do that.
I'm pretty certain earlier in the debate you said I was being disingenuous or something with my opinion.
I can say
it's kind of hard to understand what you were saying.
Disingenuous is not weighing how much logic you have in a statement or saying that you're incapable of anything.
And you sit there and said I was disingenuous, so you're not going to like that I said that you're irrational?
Disingenuous is part of the logic. That's not talking about you as a person.
Yes, it is.
Oh. If I say the statement is disingenuous, that means that it's leaving out information that is not clear. Not you being disingenuous to the person, the statement is. And you could do that knowingly or unknowingly. A lot of the times it's not even up to you. It's not a personal attack at you. I'm saying the statement itself be fallacious because other people could be misled.
Sorry, something popped up. Can you repeat what you just said?
The entire point of this debate is the attack goes against the point, not against the person. So in me saying that a statement is disingenuous, i.e. not you, that statement is disingenuous. Other people can be confused either intentionally by you or unintentionally by you. Because you cannot know what's happening and it's still a thing.
Okay, well, your statement was being irrational. How about that?
My statement, okay, I'll take that. That's fine. My statement was irrational, but it's more than a demo. I would say, before you call it a tech demo, I would say it is a very, very detailed owner's manual.
Okay, so do you think we should pay for an owner's manual?
If you learn a lot from it,
or do you think that an owner manual should be included with the product?
What owner's manual comes with any product these days?
Say again?
What owner's manual comes with any product these days? You can open any game and let me know.
With a game?
What owner's manual?
Sorry, your echoing's hard to understand you.
What owner's manual comes with any product? Sandstorm, can you relay that, please?
Yes, he said what?
Repeat that?
Yeah, he said what owner's manual comes with the product these days.
Well, my car came with an owner's manual when I bought it.
He was specifically referring to games.
Well, the game is a owner manual to the console itself.
That's
I don't believe we should have to pay for an owner's manual. I believe it should have been a pack-in.
Games used to come with manuals in them, and they don't anymore.
I don't care. It should have been a pack-in, period. I'm not going to sit here and justify for Nintendo that it's okay for them to charge $10 for it.
Have you played Welcome Tour?
No, I refuse to. Out of principle.
So you don't know what you're missing. You don't even know.
I don't need to know what I'm missing. That game should have been a packing title.
Based on what though? Just on you looking at it?
I've already explained.
I don't think so, because you're basically what you're saying is you don't know enough about it.
No, I know plenty enough. I know enough about it to know that it's just a tech demo.
What do you know?
I've already explained it.
You just said plenty. Plenty isn't.
We're going to continue to go around in circles over and over and over again. There is no point. This is pointless at this point.
The logic is circular on your end because we won't be specific.
I've already.
And we know why you won't be specific, because you don't have any experience with the game and there's nothing you to really talk about.
I don't need to have experience to know what it is.
You kind of do.
I've already explained it.
You kind of do. Kind of do.
No, you do not. You don't need to sit. You didn't need to play Cyberpunk 2077 at launch to know it was broken.
Well, the people determined the value of that game over time anyway, from the people that did play it. And the price went down.
At first, that game wasn't worth anything because it was broken.
Okay. Where we sit, Welcome Tour is still $10. And it's up there on eShop. Welcome Tour is still $10, and it's up there on eShop.
Okay, I still don't agree with it. It should have been packing.
I mean, sounds like you're the minority.
I didn't hear what you said.
And I will say this. I will say this. Noise on the internet is the vocal minority. Majority of the time. That's a great pun, but.
Sandstorm, can you repeat what you said?
He said that noise on the internet is the vocal minority.
Okay, it could be the vocal minority regardless. I'm still going to stand up and fight.
What were you fighting?
I've been perfectly clear. I am fighting against anti-consumership.
What's anti-consumer? Define anti-consumer.
I've already explained it. We're going to go around in circles.
You never define anti-consumer. At no point.
I have already explained why Nintendo is anti-consumer. Can we go on with the next question, please, Sandstorm?
Define anti-consumer.
I'm not going to define anything. I already explained why Nintendo is anti-consumer.
You not know what anti-consumer means?
I've already explained why Nintendo is anti-consumer.
Oh man, don't get triggered, man. I'm just asking you a question. I'm trying to figure out where your head is.
I'm not triggered. I'm just tired of going around in circles. It's not going to end. All we're going to do around is, and I don't want this to be in a 2.5 hour debate. We still got 9 more questions to get through.
If you answer my question, it'd be over pretty quick.
No. Because I already can tell it's going to go around in circles. Sandstorm, can we please get on to the next question?
You tell me what anti-consumer means, I'm like, okay, great. That's a great definition.
I've already stated what I had to say. I'm not going to sit here and keep going around in circles over and over again.
All right. Well, then
so just for the chat real quick, I want to clear up. People need to hear this. When people make declarative statements and you ask what the declarative statement is and what it means, and they can't get to it, that's the whole point. They never wanted you to get to it. They just want to do the complaint. And it's not just Vigilante here. I see this a lot. This is basically Twitter vocalized right here. The whole point is to start the trolling, engage in the trolling, and start the loop. And if you actually want to get some type of understanding, that's never going to happen because you were never supposed to understand. Continue.
All right. So the next question actually comes from Andre. Shout outs to Andre, the game idea guy. Have you... Oh, that's not the question. Your question was further up, Andre. My apologies. Oh, this stuff moves so fast. You were right after Prime. And I appreciate all the questions. Thank you guys so much for your patience. It was before Risky came in here, so that must be the question. Nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. great point, Andre, but that was not your question either. Man, I should have had my moderators. Moderators helped me out on this one.
You just going through the chat?
Yeah. And it might just be so, it might be so old that I can't even see it now. Because it would have been before.
Did they at you, or did they just put?
It would have been Andre, and it was right after Prime's question. I had started to write it down, and then I forgot. So while we're looking for Andre's question, did anybody else have a question in the chat? I see everybody going about the $80 games, about add-ons, Risky in here. I have a serious question to deliver. Oh, are you a leafy clone? That's funny. You don't see it either, do you?
I don't see any. I don't see a question from him. I don't hear.
So
I'm looking at the live chat, so I don't know if
okay.
I scrolled past.
Yeah, I might have scrolled past it. For Wilton asked the question: why do people feel like it's okay to? Oh, thank you, Wilton, so much. Thank you. That was the question. Thank you. Shout outs to Wilton 969. Appreciate you, bro. Why do people feel like it's okay to pirate Nintendo games while stating that they don't like Nintendo games? What do you think is the reasoning for that?
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah. Why do people feel like it's okay to pirate Nintendo games while stating they don't like Nintendo games? What do you think the reasoning is for that?
Okay, I'll go first. If someone is stating that they don't like Nintendo games, but they're also pirating and playing the games, they're probably wrong about that. They obviously love them if they're going to pirate them and play them. I don't know too many people that sit here and play a game and don't actually enjoy it. They can sit here and play a game and end up not liking it, but I don't know of people that go into a game saying, oh, I'm not going to enjoy it and then play it anyways. Don't know too many people like that. So that's the best way I can answer that question.
All right, Shadow.
Totally agree. That's exactly my take. That's 100% my take.
Okay, hey, me and Shadow can agree on things.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a triggering question. I'll answer it anyway, or ask it anyway, Vigilante, and you can answer how you want to answer. Question: Vigilante said he's going to buy a Switch 2 after playing his cousins on Gamebird's video. Doesn't that mean you betrayed your entire audience and stances on everything Switch 2?
No, absolutely not, because I've never told people to not go out and buy a Switch 2. I've always told people if you're going to buy one, go get one pre-owned. Now, if I was to go buy Mario Kart World, yes, that would make me a hypocrite, because I've always said do not buy Mario Kart World and we need to boycott that game.
Okay. We got another question. Exodia says, does the gaming industry need... I'm going to assume that's communism?
Yep. That's what they're trying to say.
Okay. Does the gaming industry need some communism?
I don't really talk about political stuff, so I'm going to have to pass on that one.
I mean, it already happens. It just happens. It just happens at the top. That's a story for another day. But I think Sertan did. He said he found Andre's question.
Who found it?
Sertan squared.
Oh,
Right under JB's comment.
okay. Let me see. Sorry, my apologies.
You're okay.
Oh, Lion Star says, my apologies. Lion Star says, so my question is, why can't we have a choice to pay for the expensive cartridge so the third parties don't have to?
Are you talking about what some people are calling a switch tax?
I don't know. I just read off the. I'll let Shadow go first with it. I'll ask it again. Why? My question is, why can't we have a choice to pay for the expensive cartridge so the third parties don't have to?
I think there's a company that's trying to do that. They're trying to be the middleman. Somebody put a tweet out a couple of days ago saying they want to be the middleman, and they're asking like all third parties to contact them or something. I think they're trying to be their own limited run or something like that. To where somehow they're able to do switch cartridge manufacturing. So they're willing to like publish with small studios and smaller publishers. I don't know what that is. I heard it on 2 or 3 YouTube videos. I haven't looked into the article myself, so I heard that going around. I don't know exactly what that's supposed to be, but at the same point in time about paying so the third parties don't have to. Why are we trying to bail out the third parties? That would be my other
I'm
question.
confused too.
That would be my question to ask back. But
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not completely sure.
I'm
on
gonna
that
have
one
to
either.
agree with Shadow on that one. I don't really understand the question, to be honest.
Yeah, it was kind of sounding like why do they have to pay for the cartridges? Why do the third parties have to pay for the cartridges that they put the games on? And make it sound like we have to pay for the cartridges? Almost sounds like why can't we pay even more money for all of it is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm already against that. So that's not gonna happen for me. You guys already know what my stance is. If I'm against $80 games, you know it's going to be even worse than that.
we agree again. That's 2. Let's go. Let's keep it going. I'm with it.
They asked, what is a diffuse map?
A what?
I have no clue. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that question out.
I'm surprised GCJ don't have a question.
But diffuse map? Oh, that's an interesting question.
Oh, Joycey,
That was a time ago.
Joycey asked on the Prime podcast, what kind of question should she ask? She must be dual screening it.
Oh.
Yeah, probably.
We always know she has something to ask.
Let me see. I'm making sure there was no questions on primes that anybody didn't make it over for.
If y'all have more questions, just go ahead and throw them in the chat now, I guess. And
yeah, because we are at 1 hour and 50.
I'll say in my chat, there's only 2 people really commenting back and forth. I think you guys know who one of them is, and then they're not even asking questions.
Yeah, I can see on Restream, I can see everybody's chat.
Oh, okay.
With the exception of Primes because he's not like directly connected. So.
Oh, okay, got you.
Okay. So
I just found out who flipping the switch is.
Lion Star kind of elaborated a little bit. He said, well, some of us are willing to pay for the cartridge if it's fully on the cartridge. That's the point of a physical game. If the third parties are being too cheap to pay for. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I mean, I'll let y'all answer. I had my own opinions, but I'll let y'all answer. Basically, he's saying if it's going to cost that much anyway, I'm assuming, because of game key cards, why not just pay the extra money to them so they can put it on a physical cartridge?
Shadow, you can go first because I don't really know how to answer this.
I mean, it's basically the limited run thing, but you're doing it like I guess the publisher would have their own site or whatever. And if you wanted to buy a 64 gig cart or whatever from them, and you buy it and you kind of like prepay ahead of time, then they go and print the cart or print a limited number of carts or whatever based on how many orders they have, and then they deliver them kind of like on demand kind of situation.
Oh, okay.
Like that as a just, and they just charge a premium for that, so it may be up to $100 for a game, depending. But they just want it because they're a collector or whatever. I still see that happening. I still see some company doing that going forward. I don't think that'll be absent, to be honest with you.
Okay, I'll concede with Shadow. And if there's no more questions, the host can ask us some questions too if you want.
Yeah, my questions are really limited. I just wanted to hear y'all talk. That's all. There are a couple more questions here. Ty Schallerberger, NSO, good value or no? Is NSO good value or no? Duh, that's okay. Okay, I appreciate you, Prime. I'm like, who? Yeah. So they asked, is NSO a good value or not?
Can you tell me how much it is? Because I don't know how much it costs. If I'm going to give an opinion on it, I got to know what the price is.
Okay, so the base price, I believe, is $20 a year. That nets you the Game Boy, the NES, and the Super NES. And the $35 a year nets you those, plus the Game Boy Advance, the Sega Genesis, the N64, and the GameCube.
GameCube if you have Switch 2.
If you have Switch 2.
So what's the highest price?
You get the free updates for Breath of the Wild.
Oh yes, and you get the all the DLCs on the original Switch, so Mario Kart 8, and the rest of those. And then on the Switch 2, you get Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and all the other past stuff as well.
Okay, so when you say all the DLCs, are you talking about every Switch game?
No, only
every Nintendo published game. Well, most of the Nintendo published games.
Yeah.
How about Xenoblade?
It doesn't have DLC.
Oh, okay.
And the DLC that those games have is usually free anyway, and then they have the big DLC, which is like they'll have like
a whole nother game for it.
A whole nother game, basically.
Okay.
And typically, like Torna was a separate release. Like it was $40 by itself as a separate game, which is, it should have been contender for Game of the Year, but that's a whole nother situation. And, but the last one they just did, which is Future Redeemed, that was digital only. It never got a physical release, and I'm kind of upset about that. But it's either here nor there.
Okay.
But typically, Xenoblade games have DLC kind of baked in. It comes out every once in a while. They're like little packs and stuff, and you get like little bonuses or whatever, little stuff like that. It's not real. I mean, I wouldn't consider it real DLC, but that's what they do with it.
Okay, yeah.
Xenoblade
So for $30 a year, I would agree it's a good deal. Better than what PlayStation gives you.
It's 70 on both of them now, right? I think
so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 70 for both of them now. I can't remember the last time they just pillage my credit card every year.
But yeah, I mean, if it's that price, it could be up to $50 a year. I would think it's worth it.
Okay. Good. Okay, we're gonna have time for maybe two more. Joycey, you asked for a Joycey question, so I'm gonna give you a Joycey question.
Okay.
She said, if GTA drops at 100 for the standard edition, is it worth it? Why or why not?
No, it is not. No game is worth $100. Plain and simple.
All
You know
right.
I'm going
I
to
don't know how
follow up on that,
elaborate any
right?
differently than that.
You don't follow up on that, right? Is it worth $80?
Nope. No game is worth $80, but she asked it for $100.
Is it worth 70?
Maybe. I would have to play to find out. Just because if a game looks good doesn't mean it's going to be worth it.
I'm glad you can say that. That's great. That's good to know. That's good to know.
Oh, I was wrong. I was wholeheartedly wrong. So, but you already said this, Vigilante, so I guess it doesn't matter. But Thunder Thunderstash corrected me. It's actually 50 a year now. But the last time I paid
That's
it was
what?
it's actually 50 a year now. With
For everything,
okay.
for the expansion.
yeah, for everything. So I think my time is coming up soon then. Okay, last question. I'm not asking a risky question. That's a waste of time. Sorry, Risky. You're gonna have to find somebody else to ask your question. That's a waste of time.
Good job in the chat, Risky. Good job in the chat.
How did Switch? Oh, okay. Somebody else from Prime's channel asked, how did Switch come around, and why did the consumers hate? Oh my gosh. Oh, this is a soapbox one. I already know. How did the Switch come around, and why did the consumers hate the Wii U?
Okay, I'll go first. I never had a Wii U, but I believe the reason why so many people probably hated the Wii U was because Nintendo did some poor marketing on it. It looked like more like when I first saw the Wii U, I thought it was like on the box, it was an accessory, to be honest. That's what I honestly thought. And maybe that's the reason why, but I never played it, so I can't really sit there and say why people hated playing it or not. And with the Switch, I think that the reason why the Switch came around is it was a very affordable price, and the graphics were good enough, and they had some amazing first-party titles like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Xenoblade. Those are probably the two best titles on the Switch, in my opinion.
All right, Shadow, you wanna?
Could you repeat the question? Repeat the question again? I didn't hear the last part.
Yeah, it's okay. I think this was something that you've probably talked about a million times, so it's in your alley. How did Switch come around, and why did the consumers hate the Wii U?
So basically, why did people end up liking Switch, and why did they hate the Wii U? Is that the question?
Sounds about right.
Okay, so here's the thing. People hated the Wii U because people told them to hate the Wii U. You'll see all kind of videos about people like, I just got Wii U for the first time. It's actually a good system. It's actually, all these people are doing this stuff after the fact. And it's not new. The same thing was happening with GameCube. That's why GameCube games cost so much right now, because people are finally going back and collecting that system and finding out how good it was. But at the time, it was not popular to like that system. And there's a system in place where the Overton window is, do not like this console if we talk about it in a bad way. If you talk to your friends about it, they will laugh at you. These things actually happen. I've seen it in place. I've worked at retailers where I've seen it happen. I've seen grown men try to shame a kid come in because they wanted to buy a console. I've seen it happen. And that kind of thing went away with Switch because Nintendo did not trust Amy Press or any other influencers or anything like that. All the marketing went directly on a YouTube video for everybody to see all at one time. Everybody saw the same thing first. No press outlets got any first takes first. It was Nintendo showing the system and them doing their own directs, showing you how it worked. And they showed you all the games up front. With Wii U, they showed you that system for 2 years behind pay gates for E3 with different publishers and whatnot in 2011 and 2012. And both times they showed it, they got bashed to hell and back by media. That's why people didn't like Wii U. That's why people didn't buy it. The people that didn't care, people like me that knew what it was or whatever, they still went out and bought it day one. That's why it sold out so quickly, even though it didn't sell that well in the end. It still sold out day one. Switch, there was no excuses anymore. There was no IGN, there was no GameSpot, there was nobody, there was no Adam Sessler saying, I can't tell if this is an accessory or not. None of that was able to happen. They tried, they paid YouTubers and stuff to go out there and say, well, the Switch still has paltry storage, 32 gigs and whatnot. The same thing they were trying to say about Wii U, and they're like, no, you just put an SD card in and you expand it. Just like you could have bought any USB hard drive on Wii U. All that stuff went out of the window because people could see it and they could see the lives for what they were, and they fell on deaf ears. So that's why Switch took off, and Wii U did not. It was almost to spite what had happened with Wii U. Nintendo basically gave the entire industry a middle finger, and that's basically what happened. That's my take.
I'll concede with Shadow. I don't know too much about the Wii U, so I'm gonna believe that he is saying the truth.
All right, fair enough. All right, guys, that's all the questions that we're gonna take for now because we're at 2 hours and 2 minutes. I don't want to keep my guests longer than we already have. This was an epic battle. This was amazing. This is gonna go down in history as one of the most funnest times, especially on this channel. Thank you guys so much for coming through. Thank you everybody who's watching. Thank you everybody who's watching on Prime's channel. Thank you everybody who is watching on Shadow as well as Angry Vigilante's channel as well. Before we get up out of here, Vigilante, go ahead and throw out your channel and everything.
Alrighty, my channel is the Angry Vigilante channel. I sit here and do reactions on Salty Fanboys, and so far for this debate, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a good time. I got no animosity towards Shadow or anything. I think he's a stand-up guy. He was very respectful. You know, we have a difference of opinion, and we're just gonna have to leave it at that.
Awesome, and thank you once again for coming through. We really appreciate you. Not ever. I won't even say often. Not ever have we ever had this actually happened on the channel. So it's great that you got to be the first person for us to actually have this kind of entertainment, man. Really appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Hey, I enjoy doing this kind of stuff. I don't back down from challenges, so I have no problem with it.
All right, Shadow.
So the first thing I want to do is I want to apologize to the chat and the audience, and the extended amount of people that are here. So I violated Rule 2. Allow the other to speak without interruption, and I apologize for that. I'm just thinking back now. I think I did that at least 3 or 4 times, so I apologize if I did that, and I apologize to Vigilante for doing that too. And number 3, neither of us could provide links, obviously, because of technical issues we're having right now, but that would have been good to do, to go through and kind of look at certain things or whatever and be able to pull up information. But yeah, we weren't able to provide that today, so I apologize for that. But other than that, yes, thank you for coming on, Angry Vigilante. I had a good time. It was great. Great discussion. Had a lot of topics to talk about. Obviously, there's differences of opinion and stuff like that. There's some stuff that I just cannot. If you just say it's your opinion and it's based on there's no argument there for a lot of that stuff. So, I appreciate everybody coming out, supporting the homie Sandstorm here, supporting the channel. Make sure y'all. I don't know how y'all got here, but like, subscribe, do whatever you got to do, whatever for. Make sure you support this guy's channel and the Winging It podcast, which we're on every Sunday. And my channel been dead. My uploads will come up whenever they come up, man. I've been working on stuff for a while, and just bear with me. I'm trying to get some stuff up for this unboxing or whatever it is I'm doing. I don't know what it's going to be at this point by the time I update it, but you guys will see it. So just enjoy it, and Shadowcast and Random, they'll happen whenever. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll get Nintendo Prime on one again. We'll see.
Until then, it's going to be more Shadow Storms.
Yep. That's the way it's looking right now.
All right. Thank you guys so much for coming through. We really appreciate you guys. If you liked the debate here. Oh, I guess we were about to leave before, and nobody was going to even say anything. What happened to the numbers? Sandstorm, what happened to the numbers?
Oh, yeah,
I am so glad you asked.
Good numbers.
So we have the numbers here. I know on whose channel is this? Is this Prime's? Yep, it's Prime's. So on Prime we have 83% Shadow to 17 Vigil, and on mine we have 80%. Okay, never mind. Okay, 80% Shadow to 20% Vigil. And I didn't do Twitter. So unfortunately, I did not get Twitter just because of the way that we had to stream this. I didn't need y'all looking at all the extra stuff. So yeah, so it was a very good match, very entertaining. I definitely felt like both of you guys had some really good points, some very strong points. And that's what it's all about. And at the end of the day, like Vigilante said, there was no animosity. It was a good, riveting conversation. The conversation moved forward, and it was just overall a healthy experience, fun experience to dive in with both of these guys. So once again, thank you guys so much, everybody on the Stormcast. Thank you guys so much, everybody on Vigilante's side, as well as Shadowfox side. Thank you guys so much on Nintendo Primes. We really appreciate it. Now I have to go back and actually listen to everything that Prime commentated about because I didn't catch any of it. So
I didn't either.
Yeah. So
I bet he was cussing us out.
I know, right? That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. So thank you guys. We will see you guys later. Peace.